some of my favourite true crime documentaries are those that involve real people and body cams and real life examples rather than just people talking to a camera about things that happened in the past. And although Call the Bailiffs Time to Pay Up isn't necessarily a crime documentary series, it does actually incorporate potential need for the police at some point, and certainly emotions and tensions both very, very high. This is a show that is new to Channel 5, and at the time of recording there are 4 episodes available. I've seen all 4 of them. I believe the next one is out next week. But with those 4 episodes, I feel like I've definitely got enough of a grasp of this to say I love this and I hope this never ever ends. Basically, we follow enforcement agents as they go to people's houses or premises to try and get money back that is owed, and they do this on behalf of the creditors. And we follow the same enforcement agents around. I think there are maybe 3 groups of 2. So we get to know them as the episodes develop, and that's something that I really liked, because you get to see how they deal with different situations. If it had been a different enforcement agent every time, it would be hard to ascertain whether or not the way they were treating that person or speaking to them was normal. But here we can see where they need to get a bit more assertive. You can see where they need to be a bit softer and a bit more understanding to people who are genuinely struggling. And by that I mean there are some cases where people can pay and they have the money to pay, but they refuse to on principle or because they're just idiots. And there are cases, for example, in I think episode 3 or 4, a family were behind on rent, or they owed rent for a property they lived at previously, but this family clearly were struggling. They clearly had no money. They showed the agents their bank accounts, and they were very understanding of that. And I think this dispels a lot of myths about, bailiffs and what they're actually like. Because I think when we all think of bailiffs, we think of heavies banging on doors and demanding property. But when you watch it, in actual fact, it's not like that, and it's an absolute joy most of the time. Sometimes it's quite scary to follow them around with the camera crew as we see them make the initial approaches with somebody, and then as they talk it through. A lot of cases we see the people refusing to cooperate. There's one person who basically manhandled one of them, and then we see the people getting feistier and feistier, and it's interesting to see how the enforcement agents remain calm and try and talk that person through it, trying to help them see sense and help them make them realise that actually if you don't pay this, it's going to get worse. And I have to admit, the clips where the people are a lot more irate, where they refuse to cooperate, where they're trying to run away, they're obviously the most interesting and the ones that I find the most fascinating. But the ones where they're being a lot more gentle and, helping the people find ways of repaying even just a tiny amount, those are the ones that I feel are worth watching, particularly if you're prejudiced against bailiffs. I've thankfully never had any involvement with bailiffs. I wouldn't have the kind of money to even think about borrowing a lot of money to get into that situation, but people do, and it's a really good mix of situations, a good mix of encounters. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm glad that I discovered this pretty quickly. Usually I discover shows when there are 4 or 5 series into it and I have a lot of catching up to do. But with this one I do get the excitement of the next episode coming out, and I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's brilliant. It's got the perfect blend of, warmth and compassion, but also severity. It takes, they take these cases seriously, and at the end of the day, the creditors are owed their money. So no matter how severe the sob stories seem, they owe the money. Absolute joy to watch. Each one's about an hour in length, and I cannot recommend them enough.